Hi, this is Jenna Bankson with my yearly update, and I'm starting out the video showing a few minutes of a lesson that I gave with my friend Marcia Carey on her Mustang gelding Chili. I'm having Marcia practice bringing Chili from a stretch up into a low working frame, with the purpose being for her to feel when she loses the connection as she brings him up and send him back down and get the contact again. And so before I have her pick him up, I just want to make sure that she has a nice contact into the stretch. And I'm also just asking her to feel his movement beneath her, feel each of her seat bones rising and falling. Marcia sometimes gets a little tense when she's concentrating on something and she kind of locks up her body. So I want her to feel each of her seat bones coming up and down, each of her heels coming up and down. So she should almost have a slight backwards pedaling feeling happening in her legs and her seat. Marcia tends to get stiff in her ankles when she gets tense, and she's told me that sometimes she even clenches up her toes, so I'll remind her just to open and spread and relax her toes. And I want her to feel through her seat when each of his hind legs is stepping forward. And so she feels that right, left, right, left. Feels how her seat moves with him. And that's our little barn kitty, Bonnie, there, coming to help out with Marcia's lesson. And I think right about here, I've asked Marcia to slowly start picking Chili up. I wanted to do it just like an inch at a time, and so she feels when he comes above the contact, and she loses the connection over his back, which happened there. And so she's lifted the bit up in the corners of his mouth, and she's asking him to step underneath himself from behind. And since I've had her practice on feeling when each hind leg is stepping forward, she can give her cue when his inside hind leg is stepping off the ground to come forward and ask him to step up underneath himself a little bit more. And now Marcia has moved Chili up into a trot, and so she's going to start out getting a nice stretch established, getting him reaching down over his back into the contact of the bit. And I'm asking her to visualize his inside hind leg coming forward as she goes up in her posting, and his outside hind leg coming forward as she sits. And she's got a pretty nice stretch established there, and so she started to ask him to come up into his low working frame, but she lost the connection and his back dropped and he came way up above the bit. And so now she has to use her connecting aids to send him back down into the contact and get working over his back again. And she managed to do that fairly quickly. She's getting better at that all the time. It used to take her a lot longer to get the contact reestablished when she lost it. And there she's got a beautiful stretch in the trot. His nose is actually almost dragging in the dirt, and you can see how he just kind of released and his whole body just kind of loosened up there. And you saw the big smile on Marcia's face. She felt that and got to enjoy it. And then she's going to just start asking him to come back up again, just a little at a time. As soon as she feels that she loses the connection, she kind of sends him back down until she finds it again. So it's a little trial and error here. She's just learning how to feel. Oh, and there, Marcia's asthma is bothering her, and so everything kind of fell apart. So we let her take a little break and got started again. And she has a nice trot going here, and she's gradually picking him up. This is going a little smoother than earlier. And so he kind of comes out of the contact off and on, but she's fixing him each time. She's getting much quicker at feeling when she loses the connection and getting it fixed again. And there's a nice little transition into walk. And now I'm moving on to a lunging session with Fuego. And this video was taken on Monday after he'd had the weekend off. And so he's starting out a little slow and sluggish, but he's relaxed, so I'm happy with that. If I push him forward too much before he's warmed up and ready, then I'll just make him tense and upset, and definitely don't want that. So we're moving forward into a trot, and again starting out just a little slow. He hasn't warmed up yet. He's had a couple days off. He just needs a little more time to warm up and get moving good. And in a second here, the video is going to flash forward right there. And this is after a few more minutes of lunging, and you can see his trot is much better now. He's kind of springing off the ground, and I've actually done a little section of slow-mo here so you can see how much push up through his back he has. And that's not so easy to sit, but I'm getting better over time. And at the time of this recording, Fuego's only been back into regular work for 3, maybe 4 weeks. We had a tremendous amount of rain in Southern California during November and December, so he was worked just very sporadically for those 2 months, sometimes going almost 2 weeks without getting out. And so he's just getting back into the swing of things. And you'll see that over the course of his lunging session, Fuego continues to loosen up and move over his back better as he goes along. And he kind of stalled out there on his downward transition, but I got him moving back up into the trot again. He's just feeling a little lazy overall today. But the main goal today is just to keep him relaxed and get him moving after having his 2 days off. And it's just nice to watch how he moves better and better as he goes along. And then we flash forward again, and again his trot is just looking a little lighter off the ground. His back is a little looser now. He's got just a little more push from behind. He's got a nice long neck, reaching out into the stretch. And we've changed direction here, and this walk is better than it was when he started out going to the left. He's had a little more time to warm up, but still a little sluggish. Just not an optimal walk today, but again, I don't want to push him to the point that he starts getting grumpy and tense, so I'm just going to go with it a little bit. He is stretching down nicely, so that's good. And this trot's starting out just a little slow this direction like it did the first way. But you'll see as he goes along, his trot will improve. And here I've kind of fast forwarded the video a little, and you can see he's getting a little bit more warmed up, and we moved up into the canter. I'm happy with how relaxed he looks. And there he's starting to stretch down a little bit as his back loosens up. And kind of fast forwarded it again. You can see his canter has gotten even looser and rounder. And so I brought him back down into trot. And you can see that his trot has improved even more after the canter work. And he's just got a nice steady stretch going here. It's very rhythmical. Again, even if he pops his head up, he's still able to maintain his top line. He's not hollowing or inverting his neck. It's just nice to watch the horses go without their tack on. You can really see what their back is doing, and it gives you a chance to track their development. Now here's just the end of me culling him out at the walk. And at the end of his work session, he always gets a carrot, which he knows to turn his head away from me to get his treat because he used to be a bit of a mouthy boy. And now I'm just going to do just a little Piaffe in hand after he got warmed up from his lunging session. And I just want him to get his neck nice and long, reach down into the contact. He used to have a big problem of curling his neck working in the Piaffe, and so I know he has a few rhythm problems, but I'm just happy that he's staying relaxed and keeping his neck out and down. And so I'm going to reward him for that. You can see how he stays nice and quiet. Doing the Piaffe has not made him tense or upset. He's very happy. And now I'm going to show some under saddle work with Fuego. The previous videos were taken on a Monday, and so that was Fuego's first workout of the week. And now this is Saturday, and this is his fourth workout and his final workout of the week. And when I was grooming him before riding him this day, I noticed that he was kind of sore over the loins, and so I'm going to take that into account and make sure he gets a nice long warm up, plenty of time to loosen up his back. And his walk generally starts out a little on the sluggish side. Actually, for him, this isn't too bad considering I've only been riding him a few minutes. But I just encourage him to step forward as much as I can get him to without him getting upset and tense. And during his warm-up, I'm just doing a series of 20-meter circles. I'll do one 20-meter circle and then ride straight. And then I'll do another 20-meter circle and ride straight again. And the circles help activate his inside hind leg. I'm really concentrating on asking him to step up underneath himself with each step from behind. He can lose a little impulsion on the circles when he's not warmed up, so just doing one circle and then going straight helps get a little impulsion back if he loses it on the circle. You see he's slowed down just a little bit there. And continuing to ask him to stretch down and out as much as possible. That was a little bit better there at the end. He finally started reaching out to the contact a little bit better. And I'm doing the same thing on the left rein. I'm just going to ride a 20-meter circle and then send him straight, and then I'll do another 20-meter circle. And again, I'm just asking him to step forward from behind and out to my hands as much as I can get him to. And that will improve as he continues to warm up. And I've kind of fast forwarded here, and we're going to try a leg yield. And I'm encouraging him to stretch down as he does his leg yield, and he's being a little resistant there at first, but as we get about halfway across from the center line, he is starting to reach down into the contact better there, so that's good. And I'm gonna skip the video ahead in just a second, and there we go, and I'm going to show a shoulder in on the left rein. And again, I'm asking him to do it in a stretch, trying to continue to loosen up his back. There he goes. He's getting more relaxed down into the contact as he goes along. And I'm not asking for a tremendous amount of angle. I'm just trying to keep him happy and relaxed. And now I'm going to do a shoulder in on the right rein. And as I'm riding, I like to visualize each hind leg stepping forward off the ground. And so in the shoulder in, as I bring his shoulders off the track, as if I'm going to start a circle, I want to be conscious of each of his hind legs continuing to step straight forward along the track. And so his hind legs and my hips are staying parallel to the fence as his shoulders are stepped to the inside. And that naturally keeps my inside leg forward and my outside leg back where I want them to be for that exercise. And now I've tried bringing him up into a working frame, and I'm going to do the shoulder in again in the working frame. See how he does. And got just a little bit tense. I'm trying to get him to relax his neck down a little bit here as we go along, and right there at the end, it cut off, but right there at the end he did start to loosen up a little and stretch down. And now I flash forward to trying a little half pass the walk, and he did get quite tense there, so I'm going to immediately bring him right back down into the stretch to relax again. Again, he's just been back in work regularly for about a month after having about 2 months off, so he's not quite back to where he was before we left off last fall. And so I just play with things. Here I'm trying to go into the half pass from a half turn on the haunches. And I'm not asking for too much bend. I'm trying to keep him as happy as possible in it, encouraging his neck to relax down and his back to loosen. And that one was a little bit better. Again, going right down into the stretch. Anytime I do something it's a little bit difficult and he gets a little tense about it and his back drops, then I want to make sure I immediately go back down into the stretch and encourage him to relax again. So it's okay to play with things, I think, and see what the horse is ready for, but just always make sure you go back into the stretch and encourage the horse to relax again anytime they get tense about an exercise. And I'm going to do the same thing, warming up in the trot that I did at the walk. Just a series of 20-meter circles around the arena. And so we'll do one circle, then go straight. And you can tell he's a little stuck back here in the trot. But the good thing is that when we went from the circle to going straight, he didn't pop his head up. You can tell he's just a little unhappy, swishing his tail a little bit. His ears aren't relaxed. And that's kind of showing the tension through his back. And he is dealing with a little bit of a, tense, tight back today. I'm going to make sure I do a lot of posting trot before I try sitting. And just as I told Marcia, as I post, I'm picturing his left hind leg coming forward every time I'm going up, and his right hind leg coming forward every time I sit. Just trying to keep a nice rhythm going. Make sure each hind leg is stepping up underneath them evenly. And if he starts to lose the stretch, then I can emphasize a little bit getting that inside hind leg to come up underneath the center of his girth as I bring his shoulders just a touch to the inside, and that'll encourage him to lift his back and stretch down again. I'm changing rein. I'm going to do the same thing the other direction. He's a little fussy, but that's just because his back isn't warmed up yet, so overall, he's making a good effort. And he's also just a little tense here because he had to go to the bathroom, so I think he'll settle down a little now that he pooped. And the fact that he'll continue to trot and not break stride, doing that is a big improvement for him. You can see he is kind of settling into the contact a little bit better now, getting a little less fussy. And as I'm posting, every time I'm going up, I'm trying to remember to keep my ankles relaxed and let my heels kind of drop down. I used to have a bad habit of posting off the balls of my feet, so I try to remind myself to keep my ankles loose, let my legs stay nice and long as I go up, and keeps my center of gravity lower. And when I do decide to sit the trot, it'll actually help me to keep a more supple ankle sitting the trot too, which I need to do to sit the trot without bouncing. And we're moving into a leg yield at the trot. And I had wanted him to do it in a stretch. We kind of came up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that again and see if I can get him to do it while maintaining the stretch. And he's responsive enough that he's just kind of following my seat, swinging over, asking him to move laterally. I don't even really have to use much calf with him anymore. And now that he did it in the stretch, now I'm asking him to come up into the working frame during the leg yield. And he got a little tense during part of it, but it wasn't too bad. And then I just stretched him right back down again afterwards. And now I've kind of jumped forward in the video. And I've started to bring him up into the working frame. He kind of wants to hold his head a little higher than I want him to, or what I feel would be optimal for his back at this point in his warm-up. So every time he comes up a little bit too high, I'm asking him to relax down and stay a little looser in his back. And I just did a leg yield over from the center line to the long side. And working him back down into a stretch. Trying another leg yield, so I'm just letting my hips swing diagonally across the arena on the same line that I want him to leg yield along, and he'll follow my seat over. And he's starting to get a little more relaxed here. And now I'm doing a little bit of shoulder in at the trot, encouraging him to keep his neck as low as possible. He's not wanting to go into a full stretch, but I got him about halfway down there. And then there, I got the stretch at the end, and then I cut the video again. And now I'm doing a shoulder in on the right rein. And he likes to get a bit of a head tilt doing a shoulder into the right, so I was just trying to get him straight, and then once I got him straight, then he relaxed and actually stretched down. And now I move forward to trying a little sitting trot. I only sat a few strides at first because I'm just testing to see how he's going to react to that. Plus, I'm not warmed up yet, so I'm giving myself a chance to warm up and be able to move with him, because as I showed in the little slow-mo clip during his lunging session, he does have a lot of thrust up through his loins and his back, and so I'll have to make sure my hips are supple and loose enough to be able to follow that. I'm just working on getting him to settle into the working frame. There he goes. So his head will come up a little high and he'll get a little tense, and then I'll just ask him to stretch down and relax again. And as he trots, I'm feeling and visualizing when his right hind leg comes forward and when his left hind leg comes forward. And I want to get that almost slight backwards pedaling feeling that I was having Marcia concentrate on when she was walking on Chili. It just happens a lot faster and it's a lot bouncier at the trot. And my sitting trot isn't quite where I want it to be yet, but it's improving over time, so I'm trying to be patient with myself. And I've changed rein here, and I'm going to work him down into a stretch, and I'm going to do the same thing this direction and try to sit a few beats and then post, then sit a few beats and then post. Make sure that he's staying happy when I sit, and I'm not seeing any changes in rhythm. He's not dropping his back out from under me. He's maintaining a pretty nice stretch into the contact there, so I'm going to keep sitting at this point. And trying to keep my ankles nice and loose to absorb the motion of his bounce up and down. And as he comes across the front of the arena, you can see, judging by the railing, just how much his back comes up each time he pushes off the ground with his hind leg. Coming around here again, you'll see his back comes up and covers up the top railing with each stride. And got him back up into a working frame again. He looks like he's loosening up just a little bit. Still not 100% consistent in his relaxation, but he's getting better. And so I felt like he was warmed up enough to do a little cantering now. And it was a little abrupt in his transition, popped his head up just a little, but for his first canter transition of the day, that wasn't too bad. And now at the canter, I'm doing the same pattern that I did at the walk and trot. I'm going to do a 20-meter circle and then go straight and continue that down the length of the arena. It's encouraging him to kind of take nice, big, ground-covering strides and loosen up. Sometimes he tries to suck back a little at the canter when he first gets going. You can see how he's kind of a little fussy. He wants to lift his head up too high. So I'm just trying to really keep his hind end striding up forward underneath him, pushing his back up, and my hands, I'm just encouraging him to stretch down into the contact. And with this last circle, you can see right there, he's finally just relaxing down how I want him to. I'm going to try doing a little canter, trying to keep his neck nice and long, keep him reaching over his back. That was pretty good. Transition back to true canter. And during the canter, again, I'm visualizing what his hind legs are doing, so I'm picturing his outside hind leg compressing down as he puts weight on it and then springing him up off the ground. So I want to make sure I'm emphasizing the up part of the canter stride, the part where my hips are scooping back. And so I'm picturing his hind end lifting his front end up off the ground with each stride. You don't want to accentuate the part of the canter stride where your hips are swinging forward, because then you'll end up basically encouraging the horse to push onto the forehand. You want to think about the lifting phase of the canter stride, encouraging the horse to come up in front. And I'm doing a series of leg yields in the canter here, just continuing to ask him to warm up. The leg yields help get him a little looser through the lower back, a little stretched out through the hind end, and right there I sent him forward and asked him to lengthen his stride a little on the canter, and then he came back pretty obediently at the end. And you can see his canter starting to get just a little rounder. Again, off and on he's still coming up in the bridle a little too much. And I got him to relax his neck out and down there again. Now it's a pretty decent downward transition. It's a slight bobble, but overall pretty good. And now that he's done a little bit of canter work, his trot has gotten a little looser and rounder. And so I'm just encouraging him to find his sweet spot. Sometimes he likes to just come up in his frame a little higher than I think is ideal for him. So every time I feel like his head's coming up too high, I try to get him a little lower and more relaxed. And right there, he looks like he's loosening up a little bit. Oh, now he flash forward a little, and right there, again, he looked like he was getting a little looser, so I'm going to reward him and give him a break, do some posting trot, get him to stretch again, reoxygenate his muscles. And you can see he's just kind of flowing over the ground better at this point. And if his back wasn't a little sore and tight today, I might have asked him just for a little more impulsion, but I feel like if I did that today, I would have caused him to get tense, and so I really want to ask for as much impulsion as I think I can get while still maintaining relaxation. Now I brought him back up again, waiting for him to get steady and comfortable here. And once he does, then we'll go ahead and pick up his right lead canter. I try to always canter him, and that was a pretty good transition there. I try to always canter him to the left first. He warms up much better on the left lead. If I try to pick up the right lead canter first, he tends to get very tense and fussy. And there he managed to poop while maintaining the canter, which is again a big improvement for what he was able to do a couple years ago. And I'm just working my way around the arena in the same pattern, 20-meter circle, and go straight, and another 20-meter circle. Just waiting for him to loosen up and get comfortable. And there, he's starting to relax. And that's much better. When he gets his head just a little lower like that, you can almost see the tension kind of melt out of his body. And now I'm going to try a little canter, again trying to keep his neck nice and low and long. And every time he gets a little tense and gets his head too high like that, again I'm asking him to push forward, up underneath himself from behind, and out to the length of my rein. We did a little leg yield there. I'm going to do another one here. And it's a little fussy. There at the end, he started to relax a little. And I'm just going large. Again, trying to encourage him to come over his back a little bit more. Reach down and out more. Here I've asked him to lengthen his stride a little bit and brought him back. And when I transition down into trot, just going to stretch up and visualize his hind legs going from a canter rhythm into a trot rhythm. And still just visualizing his hind legs stepping forward up underneath my seat into my hands, and I still need to work a little on getting my hands a little quieter. They're not as bad as they used to be, but I'm sure that will help him to keep a steadier contact once I can get my hands a little quieter. Right there, he looks like he's starting to relax a little bit. Still keep offering him to stretch out to the bit, not lift his head and suck back. And that was a pretty good transition into walk. And that downward transition, again, as I keep visualizing each hind leg stepping forward, I just picture his legs moving from a trot rhythm into a walk rhythm. So I actually visualize and feel him stepping from trot into walk, and that makes a nice smooth transition. And I'm going to edit it out some walking. I'm giving him a nice long walk break here. And so I'm kind of flash forward a little bit, but you can see his walk is much nicer than it was at the very beginning of today's session when he was just warming up and getting started. You can see the kind of the undulation through his whole body each time he takes a step forward from behind. And I've picked him back up into a working frame here. That's a pretty nice working walk. He looks pretty relaxed. He's nice and active with maintaining the relaxation. If anything, I could let his nose come out just a little bit more. I'm actually trying to offer him a longer rein, but he wasn't quite taking it. Again, and to get him out to the contact, I have to ask him to step up into it from the hind end. And that's looking pretty nice there. And now I'm going to do a little Piaffe in hand, and my goal today is to try to get a little more activity from him while still keeping his neck stretched out in front. It's kind of a fine balance with him of getting him active but not curling up his neck and coming behind the bit in front. So by getting him a little more active, I'm trying to improve his rhythm. That was a little bit better there. I'm stopping and giving him a reward, and I'll try it one more time. So he got his little piece of carrot. And so I'm just encouraging him forward, up towards my hand. I'm actually not, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not pulling back on his rein at all. I'm actually trying to encourage him to push his nose out as he keeps stepping underneath from behind. And there you can see he's just really started sitting and stepping up underneath himself more, and so that's where I'm going to stop and reward him. And again, you can see how he stands quietly. He's not frazzled or upset. And now I hop back on him just to finish out his session. And starting out in a posting trot, giving his back a little break before I tried sitting. I'm doing a little bit of leg yield there. He's a little sucked back at the beginning, but did start reaching out to the contact better at the very end. Again, got just a little tight in the neck. And here I'm going into a posting trot and sending him forward. Got just a slight bit of a lengthening there. And back to sitting trot. And just trying a little bit of a half pass in the trot. I should have had my whip on the outside before I started. And yeah, he got a little tense, but just like at the walk, I'm just going to let him go immediately down into a stretch and relax. Half pass is very difficult for him, so just want to play with it a little bit and reward him by going into a stretch afterwards. I don't want him to get too uptight about it. Just try it and move on. And I know over time he'll get better. He was better last fall before his time off, and he still hasn't quite got back the strength that he had, like say like last September, October. And I'm going to try the half pass to the right now, starting out in a little shoulder in to get the bend and angle. And again, he started out a little sucked back, but it's hard to see here, but as he went across, he actually got better at the end. And right back down to the stretch, give him a nice reward and a break. Encourage relaxation again. And just been giving him a nice session of posting trot. Get him reoxygenated. Give him a little break. I'm going to finish off the session today with just a little bit more canter, so I can try a flying lead change each direction. So we just had a little walk break on a long rein, and now I'm picking them back up into a working frame, and we're going to ask for a canter depart from walk. And he tensed up a little bit, but he was obedient. We haven't been doing walk canter or canter to walk transitions for too long, so for him that wasn't too bad. He'll get more comfortable with it over time. And I'm just trying to get him relaxed in the canter, a little more balanced. And then when he feels like he's going a little nicer, like right there, I actually gave him a little bit of a stretch. And so now that he feels a little looser, I'm going to go large in a second, and when he feels balanced, I'll go ahead and try a flying lead change with them. Flying lead changes are very difficult for him. He's a horse that even when he's turned out on his own, he doesn't naturally do flying lead changes. He would prefer just to stay in counter canter, or he would only change in front, not behind. So it's been quite a challenge for him to learn to do a flying change. He's gotten to the point that he knows what I'm asking, and there he changed. He kind of jumped to the side, but he did do a nice clean change. He changed in back and front at the same time, so that was a good boy. And we just did a circle of counter canter on a longer rein, and bringing him back to true canter, and just trying to get him to relax a little. And then I'm going to try to do a canter to walk transition. And not perfect, but oh, whoops. And there he kind of made a little there was a little misunderstanding where he was expecting to go back into canter, but and got him relaxed back into walk again. Now I'm just going to do the same thing on the right rein. And that was a nice transition into canter from walk. You could see he stepped from walk right into canter without any bobbles or shortening his stride. He did tense up slightly, but overall it was better than his transition on the other lead. And here I'm just trying to get him relaxed in the canter again, like I did the other direction. He gets a little uptight. He knows we're going to do another flying lead change pretty soon, so starts anticipating a little and getting just a little uptight. And there I'd given him a half halt, and he kind of overly responded to it, so I sent him forward again. And there I got his neck out and down and a little more relaxed. And going around and trying to keep him as relaxed as possible before asking for the change. And he kind of lost his confidence and his forward impulsion and sucked back, and he actually changed in front slightly before he changed behind, but he did fix himself, and so that was good. And so after that second flying lead change, even though it wasn't perfect. I went ahead and quit his session there. I could tell he was getting tired, and it was a good effort for him for something that's difficult for him. The good thing is that he knows when I'm asking for a change now and is getting very obedient about doing the change when I ask. Now it's just a matter of his changes getting cleaner and him getting more confident about doing them. And I'm just about ready to get off Fuego here, and after his ride I turned him out and let him have a good roll. Then I massaged his lower back with some liniment, and he had the following day on Sunday off and just had a little bit of turnout time. And then when I took him out Monday to ride him, pretty much all the soreness was gone from his back, and I had a really nice ride on him. So that was good. Well, again, this is Jena Bankson, and I hope you enjoyed watching our update.